Hello and welcome to Launerin's Gamerscore and welcome to another Dauntless Friday. This week we are just going to be searching for Arkstones again, just hunting down some behemoths and reminiscing about this year's games, some of the games that I've played and the games that I've enjoyed. So let's just jump right in. Alright, so we're starting off with a blaze patrol, mainly because I need some more of the blaze orbs to upgrade my flame type gear. So yeah, that's what we're going to do to start with. So I want to try and talk about as much as I can some of the games that I've played this year, the games that I've enjoyed. We'll start off with recent ones. Obviously last week I shared a video playing Untitled Goose Game, which even though I've only kind of actually played it recently, I've known about it pretty much since its release on PC, and I've been waiting for it to come to consoles ever since I found out about it, because I thought it was such a great idea for a game, and it just works so well. And I've really enjoyed my time playing it. So that's definitely one of my kind of recommendations of the year. If you haven't already, I would definitely suggest downloading it. I'm not sure if you can buy a physical copy. I think it might just be a digital download, but I think it's definitely worth a look, especially if you're a fan of puzzle games and things like that. So yeah, that's probably one of my biggest recommendations. Also recently I have played Train Simulator, which didn't give me everything that I wanted from the game, but I still really enjoyed playing it, seeing the lengths that they've gone to recreate some of my favourite stations. So I really enjoyed playing that one as well. Granted, it's not the kind of game that I would just boot up and play for a couple of hours because I enjoy playing it. I will admit I have played it a little bit and gotten a little bit better at pulling into stations, which I didn't do very well on the video that I posted on here. So yeah, it was a good one, but not like a game that I'd heartily recommend to everyone. It's a very specific kind of genre. And then also recently, well, fairly recently at least, saw the release of Greedfall. Which I definitely enjoyed a lot. And I've actually started a second playthrough of that as well. There we go. Better heal up a little bit. There we go. Oh, no. Oh, there's my 9 lives thing gone. Yeah, so while there are probably better big RPGs out there, that you can get your hands on, like Skyrim and just in general the Elder Scrolls series, which are a lot bigger than Greedfall was. I'd still recommend Greedfall just because it was something a little bit different. I didn't really feel like once I'd chosen my starting class, that was it. That was kind of what I had to be throughout the game. I could chop and change as much as I liked. But you know, it's quite a big game, and it's got an interesting story arc to it as well. So that's another one of my big recommendations of the year. Launerin approved. Going in for another Blaze patrol. We have a Hellion again. It's nice to mix things up every now and again. Also this year, I have played the Disney Classics remaster that came to PS4, so the Lion King and Aladdin, the original. I think they were the Mega Drive versions with the SNES or NES versions you could play on there as well. That I really enjoyed. That was a nice kind of throwback to my youth, and I thoroughly enjoyed playing through them. I've actually completed them both, and that was, I don't think, something that I actually achieved when I originally played them when I was younger, primarily because you didn't really have a save system. So you had to complete it in one sitting. I think I vaguely remember there being a level select or something to that effect, or a cheat code so you could select levels, but I still don't think I ever played every level all the way through. So yeah, it was nice to kind of complete that part of me and kind of just have that in the bank. It's, I know it doesn't seem like much, but you always get a sense of gratification when you complete a game, and that's still true with these older games as well. So other games that I've played this year, there's a lot of them. I've tried, I think, this year to play a different game pretty much every week for the channel. I'll try and talk about some of the ones that I find more interesting, that I like playing more. I've played Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, which, like Untitled Goose Game, it's a brilliant concept for a game, and it works so well. And I'm pretty sure that there are probably people out there that have memorized the manual or know essentially the basics so that they can play it on their own and not have to have a second person there so they can get really good times. But I really enjoy playing that through. Corapod really helped assisting me play that through. I don't think we've completed the entire game yet, because it's finding time where we're both available to play it. So yeah, I can't remember whether that was released this year or whether it's older, but I'm just trying to go through the games that I've played this year, not necessarily the ones that were released. For those of you that haven't seen my video on Keep Talking Nobody Explodes, or for those of you who just don't know what it is, essentially the premise is it's a two-player game, and you have one person playing the game and then another person reading the manual that you can find online at the website that the game actually advertises. So they supply that to you free of charge anyway. And essentially the person actually playing the game has a bomb in front of them with like different modules on it that can be disarmed in different ways, and then a second person looks through the manual, which has got all of the instructions on how to disarm each of the modules. And the idea is that the person with the manual doesn't look at the screen, and the person disarming doesn't look at the manual. And it's a lot of fun. I could also imagine that it would be quite interesting to play when you're drunk, or just kind of a Christmas party game, as it were. Granted, that recommendation is a little bit late now, so sorry about that. But yeah, that's something else that I definitely recommend getting your hands on if you like, again, puzzle games, or if you like just shouting at your other half or at your friends, then it's definitely a game to pick up. Where have you disappeared off to? Is that you down there? Yeah. So also this year I played a RTS game called Frostpunk, and similar to Untitled Goose Game, I believe that's been out on PC for a while, and it recently came, I think it was, I can't remember whether it was last month or the month before, to consoles. I'm not sure whether consoles is right, it might have just been came to PS4, I can't remember off the top of my head. I've completed every mission in that. I've played it all the way through. I've played just like the endless mode that they give you as well. And there's so many different things that you have to look out for in that one, and so many different things that can happen, and no two playthroughs are usually the same. and it's just such an interesting, because it's been a long time since I found an RTS that I've really enjoyed to the point of playing it through multiple times, doing all of the missions in there, and just really blitzing it. I was going to do a video earlier in the year with several of the different endings, but I decided not to because I didn't want to ruin the game too much. But yeah, that's another game that I've definitely enjoyed playing this year, and I will probably be playing it again at some point. Maybe not on the channel, but definitely in my own time. Next up, we've got a Dreadfrost Boreas. This is a dire patrol because I want to rack up a few dull arc stones, so we'll just switch to the correct equipment. Oh, looks like we're jumping in with just 2 of us. Alright. Continuing on then, there's so many games that I've played this year. I'm not going to be able to cover them all in this video, so I'll just go for some of my favourites, or the big games of the year, or just ones that maybe my review of is a little bit controversial. So next up, I want to talk about the new chapter of Fortnite. I haven't played much of the new map at all. I think I've done 1 video on it so far, and in that video I did better at Fortnite than I have done in any game of Fortnite that I've ever played. I was getting kills and I was using tactics. I'm still not building, but you know, you can't win them all. So yeah, there was no building and things, but I think the thing with Fortnite is that while it is a good game, I'm not going to debate that. It's enjoyable, it ticks all the boxes of a Battle Royale game. But I think they do need to, rather than just change the map, they need to introduce a second one. Whether they're going to release a second map kind of in the future, like they'll reintroduce the original map and have it switch between the 2, or something like that might be good. But I think they just need a little bit more variety in there, because at the moment they've just got the 1 map and it can get very samey very quickly. Which is a little bit of a shame. Not doing too great on this run. Gonna summon some more doodads. Next up, I want to talk about Wolfenstein Youngblood, which is the new Wolfenstein game that was released earlier this year. And this is one of my more controversial reviews, I think. I'm primarily, if a game's kind of story-based, generally speaking, I'll usually play it alone. Wolfenstein Youngblood has an interesting system where essentially it's a co-op game through and through. You can have an AI player, but it definitely looks and feels like the sort of game that would work better with multiple, well, not multiple people, with two real people actually playing it that can talk to each other and discuss tactics. But because I play the game on my own, it means that I play with an AI player, or I play with some random person online, which, unless I turn on my microphone, I don't really have any contact with, and it makes the game a little bit more tricky. So, controversial review, because it's definitely a game that I'd recommend, especially if you're a fan of the Wolfenstein series. It's different to all of the other games in the Wolfenstein series, but hey, it's still part of their little world that they've created, so yeah. So yeah, definitely recommend Wolfenstein Youngblood to those of you who have a group of friends that like that sort of game, and you could easily get hold of somebody to play it with you over on the online multiplayer. I wouldn't recommend using the bots. They don't really know what they're doing. Before we jump into the next one, very quickly, I just want to talk about a game that I played this year that wasn't released this year. It was free on the PlayStation Plus, and I very briefly played Batman Arkham Knight, and I am really sorry, but I am not a fan of Batman games. There, I said it. Next up, we have the Firebrand Chirog. This is another Dire Patrol. So, looks like Flame Blaze even based behemoths are very popular this week. So let's crack on with my year this year, I guess. Also this year I got quite into Detroit Become Human. Again, I really enjoyed playing that. I enjoyed all of the different choices that you got to make and the different effects that they had on the world. So that was quite fun. I played that through twice, I think. Or at least I started to play it through a second time, but my heart just wasn't in it. Because obviously the first time that you play through a game like that, all of the choices that you make are kind of made with your heart. They're your instinct choices. Rather than the second playthrough that I did, I wanted to find out what happened if I did this, what happened if I did that, and I had to do things that were a little bit out of my personal character. So I wasn't enjoying the game as much as I normally would. but definitely a game to look into. Again, I don't think that's a game of this year. That's one that's come from PlayStation Plus. Also this year, I believe it was this year, or it might have... No, it was this year. I saw the release of Tetris Effect. Thinking about it, it might have been released late last year and I didn't get it until this year. But anyway, it's a game that I've played this year. So Tetris Effect, for those of you who aren't aware, is a Tetris game. Bet you didn't see that one coming. So the long and short of it is, it's a VR Tetris game, and they've done a lot with the music of the game and the effects of the game to make it, to just turn Tetris into an immersive VR experience. And I've played a fair bit of it. I think again, it's something that I've only played once on the channel, but it's definitely the kind of game that you can just boot up for 5 or 10 minutes, whack on your VR headset, and just kind of, it just chills you out so much, especially if you don't play like the story mode, or you don't think about it in a competitive manner. If you just kind of sit and play the game, I think it's very chilled out and relaxed, and a nice way to just wind down after a long day, or even just a nice way to relax after a nice relaxing day, just to kind of close it all off, as it were, to finish off a nice relaxing day. Lovely. Oh, that was close. Alright. So, some of the other kind of little games that I played this year, I played Slime Rancher, which is exactly as the name suggests. Basically, for those who don't know, you work on a ranch and you farm slimes, and then harvest their poo. And that wasn't me making a slip of the tongue. That is the premise of the game. You harvest the slime's plorp, I believe it is called, and then you can use their plorp to then feed that to other slimes and make hybrids, because it 100% makes sense as a game. I've also played Unravel this year, the original one, and I believe it was either this year or late last year, I think, that saw the release of Unravel 2, which is a kind of a multiplayer version of it that relies on you assisting each other with 2 people playing it, which was I haven't got round to playing that one just yet, but it's definitely something that I'm going to look into. There's a few more games that I want to talk about, so I'm going to jump into one more Dire Patrol, I think, and then we'll wrap this up. So we're up against a Rockfall Skarn this time. Let's whack some barrage grenades in there. There we go. Now we'll wait to see if anybody else joins. In the meantime, earlier this year saw the release of Kingdom Hearts 3, the latest and I vaguely remember them announcing that it was going to be the final part of the Kingdom Hearts series, although I also know that recently they've released either an add-on or an expansion for it, or there's one in the pipeline, one of the two. So maybe it's not quite the end there. I still haven't completed that. I've played most of it through. Kingdom Hearts is a really interesting blend of Disney and JRPG, blended together by Square Enix, maker of the Final Fantasy series, and various other games. It's a wonderfully put together game, and it works, and the world seems natural to an extent. All of the characters blend together nicely. If people weren't familiar with other JRPGs and familiar with the characters that are in there from Final Fantasy series, then they might think that they were characters they missed from Disney films, etc. So that was definitely a game that I enjoyed playing this year. Also this year I've been playing Apex Legends, another Battle Royale game, because, well, quite frankly, I enjoy playing Battle Royale games, even if I'm not very good at them, and this I have admitted many times on this channel. Which is mainly why I switched to Dauntless, because it's just one enemy that I have to worry about, not 99. So, yeah. So, Apex Legends, I think, took a lot from the Titanfall series in the way that it plays, and I really enjoyed playing it, although I think out of all of the Battle Royale games that I've played, that's probably the one that I'm worst at, so I don't tend to fire that one up very much, but I still enjoy it when I do. I was going to say, there doesn't seem to be any sort of backing music like there usually is. Okay, let's just crack on down. So I also want to do a quick mention of Warhammer Vermintide 2, which I played towards the start of this year. As I've mentioned a couple of times on this channel, especially when I play, yeah, we'll blend the two of those together. The Warhammer 40k Inquisition game. I think that was this year, or was it that last year? Oh, I can't remember. It's all blending into one. Let's just talk about games that I liked playing recently. So that's those two I really enjoyed for different reasons. So the Vermintide one is kind of, I think it's a 4-player kind of skirmish game. It's fast-paced, especially if you know where to go, what to do, and everything else. And yeah, that one's nice to fire up for 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes. Go through a mission, or maybe 2 if you click it. And just kill hordes of little beasties from the Warhammer universe. Warhammer Inquisition, that's a top-down strategy game. kind of, with like weapon upgrades and things like that. And I suppose you could say it's a kind of top-down RPG, I suppose. There we go, just res him. And then that one's set in the 40k universe, so that's the futuristic one. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed those mainly because I am a big fan of the Warhammer universe and the work that Games Workshop do. So yeah, those games I probably enjoyed more because of personal preference rather than because they were works of art, as it were. Let's just get right in. So there we go. Other than Warhammer games then, also this year I saw the release of the 7th installment in the Ace Combat series, which I have been a big fan of many years, although I think this is the only one that I've ever actually been good at, other than 5, because I think I played the kind of original ones on the PlayStation 1/2, and I didn't really know how flight simulator games worked back then, and I didn't really know how to control it. I didn't get inverted controls. But I do now, and I bleeding love it. Definitely one of my favourite games of the year. I have played it through so many times. I've done all of the optional extras. Oh, it was so much fun playing that one through. But yeah, that's definitely one of my biggest recommendations of the year. I mean, like I've said before earlier on, I've played a lot of games this year. I've tried to play a different one every week. So there's probably some that I've missed, but quite early on in the year I did play Astrobot, which is a kind of VR. Again, I seem to be playing a lot of puzzle games. It's a VR puzzle game, essentially, where you control a little robot called Astrobot, and the VR view is basically a camera that kind of hovers behind him, similar to, well, not similar to, but kind of similar to, I think it was Moss, if you played that one, where you control a character, but you have kind of like an overview of the entire map, so you can see the map from a different perspective than if you were playing it kind of in third person or in first person. So that was a lot of fun. even though that was one of the very first games that I played this year, I don't think I've got around to actually completing the whole thing yet. So I think I'll need to fire that up at some point in the future. The problem is with VR, this is one thing that I found this year. Unless you have kind of a large kind of TV system or storage system near your TV, which unfortunately I don't currently have, it makes it a little bit awkward to keep plugging the VR headset in, especially if you want to just boot up a game for 5 minutes just to play it for a little bit. So I would like to at some point get a stand for my VR where I can keep it kind of plugged in all the time and it just be ready to go whenever I want it. But I don't like leaving it out because I don't want it to get dust in it, and I want to have to keep cleaning the lenses as much. So if I keep it in its box, it stays nice and clean, the lenses don't get dusty, and I just have to give them a quick wipe over. So all in all, that's a lot of the games that I've played this year. Again, it's not all of them. I've played some older games, some newer games. I think we've had a couple of Throwback Thursdays from Corapod as well, and a Throwback Thursday from me recently. Sorry, not a Throwback Thursday because I did it as my Saturday video, but that was a nice throwback back to my youth as well. That got me very nostalgic and kind of not teary-eyed, but really remembering the good old days. Okay, so that's all for this week's Dauntless Friday. I hope that my reviews and videos this year have been helpful to anybody that's come across them. I hope that I've been informative as best as I can, and hopefully you look forward to seeing what next year brings. When I first made this channel, I said that it was going to primarily be a PS4 channel or something to that effect, but I was going to do games from other platforms. As it stands right now, it's probably still going to be PS4 with the occasional other game thrown in from PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2. There might be a couple of other games thrown in as well from different consoles, but I think it is primarily just going to be PS4 for the time being. So before I do wrap up this video, I do want to talk about another game that's made a bit of a comeback. It is an old game, and is also not a computer game at all, or a console game or anything like that. This year and for a while now, I have been playing Dungeons and Dragons, the pen and paper role-playing game, and I've enjoyed playing that and creating worlds for that as well so much, and a lot of the games that I've played this year have also influenced that, and I've pulled things from games to put into that, and that's worked really well. So I think all I want to do is just give a little shout out to the people that I play with, my little group. I'm not going to mention you all by name for reasons, but thank you for being that group. For those that have joined the group recently, those that are part of the group from years ago, and those that have sadly left us to go on to other things. Just thank you. You guys have been such an inspiration to me, and you guys have been supportive of me in Dungeons and Dragons and in other aspects of my life, and I just wanted to say thank you. So I'm going to wrap this up then. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please do like, share and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.